But let's welcome in Amit Shah, Technical Research Analyst at Enables Ventures, as well as Amar Singh, Head Advisory, Angel Broking. Good morning, gentlemen. Amar, let me come to you in the meantime. Amar, what will your topics be for the new series?
Yeah, very good morning. The first topic which I have is ITC. What we are witnessing in ITC is that ITC has been in a consolidation, and if you look at this particular stock, this was one stock which really didn't participate much, but then if we look at the stock, it's breached its key resistance zone somewhere around 275, 282. That was a very key resistance zone for ITC. So the stock has broken out of that, and technically if I look at the charts, clearly reflecting that the trend has changed. Long-term trend definitely was up, but intermediate trend was trading sideways, so we've seen some bounce back from that. The only thing is we need to see that the stock sustains above 282, 83 levels, so that's an ideal level to buy with a stop loss of 276 and a target of 294 in the short term. Then the second stock to look at is TVS Motors. What we are witnessing in TVS Motors is that this stock has been on a relentless slide. If you look at it from all significant correction has happened in the stock, and currently it's around 522 odd levels or so. So somewhere the stock is finding strong support. So this is one stock one can look at, because technically I would say it's taking very strong support around key support zones that's on the long-term charts, and also on the medium term and the short-term charts it is in oversold territory. So the possibility of a bounce back is there. So this stock is one can look at. So ideally the level to buy is around any dip towards 510, 515. That can be a good level to buy with a stop loss of 493 and a target of 547 in the short term. And the third stock to look at is Muthoot Finance. What we are witnessing in Muthoot Finance is that again this stock is strong on the long-term charts. Short-term charts also the stock seems to have bounced back and formed a bottom. Currently it's around 400 odd levels or so. So any pullback in this stock towards 385 levels, 385, 390, that ideally is a good level to buy with a stop loss of 377 and a target of 435 on the upside.
Right, so that's I think the take coming from Amar Singh here.
Well, Amar, coming to you with regards to the banking counters, anything that's looking interesting, like for example if you have the HDFC Twins, SBI, ICICI, all of these counters have really participated in yesterday's rally of trade. Anything that still looks interesting where the uptrend could continue and could be good buy calls?
Yeah, I would say that ICICI is one stock one can look at, because this stock, if you look at it, it was trading in a range on the 260 on the downside, and again to 300 on the upside. So it somewhat is forming a bottom, that is definitely seen. But what needs to be watched out is that if it consistently sustains above 280 odd levels, because that was an early resistance level, so that's been taken out. Long term, the charts are, I would say, still positive. So any pullback in this stock can be used as a buying opportunity. So ideally 280, 283 can be a good level to buy ICICI with a stop loss. The stop loss needs to be below 275, and a target can be 300 on the upside, because the stock is showing some signs of bottoming out, and also some positive momentum is building in this counter.
Well, that's how ICICI Bank is looking on the chair. Amar, what's your view on Reliance Industries? Heavyweight, are you also bullish in a similar sort of pattern?
Yeah, overall looking at Reliance, I would say it continues to be one of the strongest charts. So there is no doubt that technically the stock is very strong. And also if you look at the last few days in Reliance, what we are witnessing is that on the upside 1138, which was the recent high. So the stock is showing some signs of, I would say, consolidation after the sharp rally from almost 960 odd levels. So clearly that is a good sign. We'll have to watch out for the results, how it comes out. But yes, any dip can be used as a buying opportunity until as the results are extremely variant as to the expectations. And on the downside, I would say 1070 to 1080, that's a very strong support zone. So ideally the stock, if the stock is to rally, then it should not breach that level, or even if it breaches, it should be for a very intraday basis, and then it should bounce back. Because technically, yes, the stock is indicating that any dip towards these levels should ideally be used as a buying opportunity till the time we don't see a reversal of trend, which is not there on the charts right now.
And
Amar, what's your call with regards to where Maruti is concerned?
Yeah, I would say that Maruti seems to have formed a short-term top. So that is clearly there in place, because the way the stock has cracked, and also if you look at the chart pattern on the daily charts, it clearly shows that there was a spinning top. So clearly that reflects that there is some very strong resistance around that level. And if you look at the chart technically also, so 10,000 was a psychological mark, and this was a level. If you look at it, this level was somewhere reached in December last year. So clearly that was a resistance. Long-term charts definitely look positive, but I would say that it seems that the stock is now going into a consolidation zone. If I look at it technically, then somewhere in the region of 9,200, that should act as an immediate level of support for the stock. So now the stock has gone in some consolidation, and there could be some bounce back, but breaching the recent highs does not seem very likely in the short term.
Right, so that's the bias coming here. Amar, another word again, how do you like M&M Finance and Repco Home Finance? Again, both the stocks, they both were adding long positions, some good volumes again were being seen the last 3 hours of the trade. In fact, they closed at days high. M&M Finance almost 5% up yesterday. So both stocks, what's your view from the charts?
Yeah, talking about M&M Finance, what we're seeing is that technically the stock is very strong on the long-term charts. There's no doubt about it. Even the intermediate term trend to a certain extent is positive. But what we are witnessing in the intermediate term trend is that somewhere the stock has a very strong resistance around 530, 540 levels. So I would say that the stock is likely to consolidate with a positive bias. So what it effectively means is that any dip can be used as a buying opportunity in this stock. No doubt, very crucial, strong support for the stock coming around 450, 460 zone, because that was the recent low somewhere. So I would say that yes, the stock is in positive, has a positive bias. So any pullback can be used as a buying opportunity, but the stock is likely to consolidate till the time it consistently does not breach 530, 535 levels on the upside. I would say the stock remains consolidated.
Right, so the stock does remain consolidated with regards to M&M Finance as well.
Right, Amar, what's your view now? Again, we waited for the pre-open cues, and now if I'm looking at the Bank Nifty and Nifty, that's giving us some positivity here. So what are the levels you'll be watching out? And if there is 50-60 point opening on the Nifty, what will the call for both Bank Nifty and Nifty?
Yeah, I would say that definitely the trend is positive, no doubt about it, and the trend has been gaining momentum and strength day by day. So clearly reflecting that any pullback should be used as a buying opportunity. But what I would suggest is that we should ideally wait for the first 15 minutes of the day, how the market really settles down and takes in all the news flows and the activities of the Asian markets. So yes, but any pullback can be used as a buying opportunity. The levels that one can watch out for is that somewhere on the downside, I would say 11,130, 140. That's a good support level. So ideally, one can look at buying around those levels if we see some positive momentum. Whereas on the upside, till the time 11,220, 225 on the upside is not taken out, we could see some selling pressure also coming in. But any dip can be used as a buying opportunity. So the trend definitely remains positive. Talking about Bank Nifty in particular, see Bank Nifty, if you look at Bank Nifty, the way Bank Nifty rallied yesterday primarily on the back of the PSU banks and also the momentum which we've seen in SBI and some of the other public sector banks. If that continues to hold, then I would say that there is further upside. And also what needs to be remembered is that earlier Bank Nifty was finding very strong resistance around 27,160, 170 zone, because that was the earlier high, somewhere around 27,164. So that has been taken out, closing above that level. So now that level becomes a very strong short-term support zone though. So 27,100 to 200, 150 to 200 should act as a very strong support zone. So any dip can be used as a buying around those levels. Whereas on the upside, I would say 27,650, 700 is what can be seen in Bank Nifty in the short term.
Right, that's the bias coming here. Amar, very quickly, what's your view on the liquor stocks? Extreme high rollovers versus last 6-month average. UBL is going to start 1% higher in today's trade. Any trade, any strength or any chance of rebound or recovery after a good correction in UBL or United Spirits do you see on the charts?
Yeah, I would say that what we're witnessing in UBL is particularly the stock seems to having formed a bottom, and the stock is long term. I would say the stock is positive, but still the time the stock really doesn't consistently trade above 1130, 1150 zone. I would say the stock could consolidate But I would say that looking at the United Spirits, what we are seeing is that the stock seems to have formed very strong support around 550 odd levels, and the stock to be bouncing back from those levels. The trend, however, I would say remains positive from a long-term perspective. So I would say that on the upside, 590, 600, that's a level of resistance. So the stock is likely to trade in a zone.
Right, so that's the word coming here.
Amar, I'll come to you first and then take Jay's call on it. ITC, previous breakouts have also found resistance at this 295, 300 levels. Has something changed for ITC this time around? Do you feel that it can hold above these levels? And if it does manage to do that, then are we likely to see fresh buying coming in and a bigger move on an ITC?
Yeah, overall looking at ITC, definitely it has broken out of a key consolidation zone, because if you look at the stock earlier, reaching the 285, 290 level was a major task for ITC, and ITC used to succumb from those levels. But taking that level out, and even if I look at the short-term charts, it clearly indicates that every passing day the momentum has been increasing. So, what should ideally happen for the stock to really sustain and trade higher is that the stock should now not trade below 285, 286 level, because now that should act as a very strong support zone. The stock could go in for some consolidation. The short term and the intermediate term trend for ITC remains positive. Long term, what we are seeing is that on the monthly charts, it is showing some positive movement. But at the same time, I would say that it would now find slightly higher to trade to go up, the way it really rallied from almost 260 levels to 300 levels. So that was a steep rally. But now the stock would find somewhat difficult for the momentum to sustain, looking at the long-term charts. But I would say that still the bias is positive, so any pullback can be used as a buying opportunity. 285, 286 is a very strong support zone.
Jay, ITC first, what's the call on this one?
Amar, very quickly, what's your sort of take on the charts on idea of Bharti Airtel? Any sort of trade opportunity which you're spotting? Because Airtel has slipped from the day's high, is now down 1%.
Yeah, looking at idea, what we are seeing is that yes, the stock definitely seems to have formed a bottom after the sell-off which we were witnessing, and the stock is now finding support. Even at the short term, I would say the daily or the weekly charts, it clearly shows positive divergence on the charts, and also the stock, the recent lows which the stock made around 50 levels. So now that should act as a very strong support. Yes, on the upside, it's going to meet with some resistance around 63, 64, because that was the earlier bounce back from where the slide happened towards 50. So that could be a level of resistance. That's the reason we are witnessing some profit booking. But the downside seems to be now limited. So the stock could now go in some consolidation till the time idea does not trade above 64, 65 odd levels. We could see some consolidation in the stock. Talking about the other stock which you mentioned, Bharti. Looking at Bharti Airtel, what we see is that here I would say the stock is meeting with resistance. So somewhere on the upside, if I look 360, 365, that's a key level of resistance. And even if we look at it technically, compare idea with Bharti, idea is anytime better technically on the charts. That's the reason we are seeing the sustain in idea. For Bharti, the level is 265, 266, only consistently trading above 365, 370 levels is a stock likely to trade higher. But I would say that Bharti is comparatively weaker as compared to idea on the charts.
Alright, that's the call on the telecom pack. Lots of news there, of course, with Idea getting the nod yesterday for Vodafone merger, and of course Bharti Airtel's number. The debt servicing part of it now becomes a concern since the EBIT has fallen below the interest outgo. But
Amar, I have a question to you, and the question here is on a couple of stocks which have been doing relatively good. Adani Transmission, again the last two sessions also there were good gains. Navin Fluorine, another outperformer in the last three sessions. So stock is almost up 4% now. Adani Transmission is roughly 3 to 4. In fact, Navin Fluorine has gained more now, 6% up. Adani Transmission again bring that stock again almost 3 to 4% up. There is a buying happening in Radico Khaitan also, almost 3% up. Exposure into liquor stock here. Somewhere any of the stocks, if you like, then what are the levels are going to be?
I would say looking at Adani Transmission, the stock definitely remains positive. And the stock, if you look at this from almost 145, 150 levels, it's currently trading around 174. So technically I would say that this stock has formed a bottom, and the stock is short term, and from the intermediate term trend, the trend remains positive. So any pullback in this stock ideally can be a buying level. I would say a good level to enter this stocks is somewhere around 170 odd levels. Currently it's 174 with a stop loss. If you look at the stop loss needs to be below 164 and a target of 182 on the upside. And talking about the other stocks which you mentioned in terms of Navin Fluorine, what we're seeing is that today is a very sharp day for this stock, and primarily the stock has formed a very strong support somewhere in the region of 600, 580, 600. So it seems that the slide which was there in the stock, that's over, and the stock is likely to bounce back. But again, if I look at it from a medium term perspective, on the upside close to 700, 710, that is a level where profit booking is likely to be witnessed in this stock, and the stock would initially find it difficult to trade above these levels. So that is where profit booking is likely to happen in this stock.
Right, that's the word coming. So Amar, what's the view on Glenmark and Biocon both? As Jay was just talking about, positive view there. Today the stock is up almost 6%. So what are the charts telling you for both Biocon, Glenmark, and if there is any going to look in?
Yeah, first talking about Biocon definitely is very strong on the long-term charts. So what we witnessed was that Biocon witnessed some selling pressure, and from almost 700 levels it came down to as low as 540, which was technically a very strong support zone. So what we witnessed in Biocon is that a lot of those who are interested or those who are aware that these are going to be very crucial support zones, they went into buying, and I would say that that's one of the reasons the stock has bounced back. And if I look at the stock on the weekly chart, I would say upside seems to be capped right now. So on the upside, I would say somewhere around 630, 650 on the upside seems to be the resistance zone, but that's a decent return from the lows which it made recently. So since the long-term trend being up, yes, buying opportunities on dips should be used, but one should remember that the intermediate term being sideways as it is, upside 630, 650 should act as a very strong resistance zone. Talking about the next stock which you mentioned, Glenmark. If I look at Glenmark Pharma, what we are witnessing here is that Glenmark Pharma is, I would say, from a short-term and intermediate-term perspective, it is forming a base. Because from a long-term perspective, it was still in a sell mode from almost, if you see, from more than 800 levels, it came down to as low as somewhere around 440. So it is bouncing back, and I would say that, yes, it is showing some signs of upside, but technically if I look at it somewhere around 590, 600, that should act as a resistance. So those who are interested, they can buy. The stop loss ideally for this should be below 558 levels, and the target on the upside can be 590, 600. 590 to 610 is the level to watch out for Glenmark on the upside, because that's a key resistance zone, and even since it's not very strong on the long-term charts, so it is going to meet with selling pressure at high levels.
Amit, before of Dr. Reddy's, Jay, Amar and Amit, thanks so much for joining in this morning and running us through your reading of the markets.